What's up guys, Mason the Brock Henderson here. So before I started this review, I went on Facebook to check some things out. One of the articles that popped up was on the Chelsea Facebook page, Conte's post-match interview. Basically the summary of it said it was a good game. So I clicked on the comments and was very pleased to find that I am not alone in this. It wasn't a good game. It was not at all a good game. This is Arsenal at home. A draw is not the end of the world, but it's not good enough. It's a good result for them because, first of all, you're getting a draw on the road at Stamford Bridge. That's a good point. And they need a confidence boost. I mean, they got hammered against Liverpool. Couple of confidence boosters, one against Bournemouth, which isn't a great game because Bournemouth's not really the team they were last year. So that's not a great result for them, but it's a little bit of a confidence boost. They go, they're at home against FC Köln in the midweek. Okay performance, but not great. So they just had a game on Thursday. They've had a couple of decent results, but not really unexpected results. Coming into our game, at our place, that should be our game. But not only did we get the draw, we didn't even dominate the game. They did for the most part. That's frustrating. It's frustrating to be at home and they get the majority of the good chances. We had a few here and there, but for the most part, I mean, they're the ones that tested Courtois more than we tested Cech. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter. We did not put on a good performance today. It wasn't terrible, but it could have been a lot better. Start off with it, it's got to be better from Conte. He's got to put out a better lineup than this. If I'm Antonio Rudiger, I'm pissed because put in 3 good performances against, who was it? Did we play Tottenham immediately after Burnley? I can't remember now. But whoever we played right after Burnley, we played Tottenham, we played Everton, then we played Leicester. I think that was how it went. 3 good performances from him. Yes, we only kept 1 clean sheet in that, but he had nothing to do with those goals. The 2 goals we gave up, nothing to do with him. 3 good solid performances. As soon as Gary Cahill's back from his red card, he's back in the team. And while defensively he wasn't terrible today, all I'm thinking the entire time is, if Rudiger's out there, he's providing a bit more cover for Alonso. He's not giving the ball away nearly as much. Why isn't he playing? Why is Cahill back out there? On top of that, Pedro and Willian both played midweek. They both start again. Bakayoko came on as a sub in that game, came on as a sub again. Why isn't he playing? Why is Hazard still not starting? I get you're trying to rest him, you're trying to keep his fitness in check. Let him play. Sub him out second half if you have to, but let him start the game because bringing him on as a sub doesn't help him. He needs time to grow into the game. If you watch him play, the first 10 to 15 minutes, he's not really involved. He's kind of working the ball around a little bit. It's not until about the 15-minute mark. All of a sudden, he makes one good run. He has a good shot, something. He creates a brilliant play, and now he's in the game, and now he's creating chances. You bring him on, 20 minutes left, guess what? You're going to get about 5 minutes of good play from him, and that's about what we got. And then Luis got sent off, and now we're having to play more defensive. So why isn't Baka starting? Why isn't Hazard starting? Why isn't Rudiger starting? All questions that need to be answered. And it hurt us today. We had some serious issues in there. The other thing to talk about is, of course, the red card. Obviously a red. I mean, there's no question about it. Really frustrated with David Luiz because, in my opinion, not a bad game from him. He had a couple of those moments again where he's just sort of kicking the ball downfield with no sense. But defensively, he looked very solid. Loses his mind for one moment where it should have just been you play the ball down the line because it's 3 minutes left. We need to try to get a win out of this. But instead, he tries to carry it. Sanchez puts in a challenge on him. Ball goes a little bit too far, and he just wildly goes in on Kolasinac. Stupid. However, the one problem I do have with this is Michael Oliver's got to take better care of the game. I understand the frustration. I'm not defending David Luiz's challenge at all. I think it's a terrible challenge and he's stupid for doing it. But I do understand the frustration because so many calls are going one way for Arsenal, not our way. That's frustrating. It gets so frustrating to be, okay, you're not calling all the shoving and pushing and pulling on, Mustafi's doing on Murata, but then Murata puts in a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge on Mustafi, he goes down, and it's a foul. That gets frustrating. Murata yells at the AR because of the call that he made on the foul on him, and then all of a sudden it's a yellow. Kalishnak just got a yellow for sliding in on Hazard from behind. Next thing you know, he's fouling somebody in the corner. He's yelling at the AR. No card. Should have been a second yellow. If you're going to card one, you should card the other. But it's all one-sided. It's all going one way. It's not like, oh, he's making bad calls both ways. You're not calling the little stuff for us. You're calling the little stuff for them. That gets frustrating. So I can understand the frustration when David Luiz goes in extremely harsh on somebody. But at the same time, like I said, you got to keep your head. You got to be a professional. Doesn't matter how bad the refs are. As a fan, I can complain about the referees, but as a player, you should know better than to go in a stupid challenge like that. The other thing that I do want to bring up, obviously it's not going to be looked at because nobody's really taking this seriously this year, but there is the rule that they implemented this year about diving or feigning injury. It's supposed to get a two-match ban. One of the things that should be looked at is David Luiz got a yellow early on because he went for a bike, another stupid decision, in the box. Koscielny goes in to head it away. He does get the header away, but David Luiz stops just short and actually hits him in the hand right here, and he goes down holding his face like he just got kicked. I realize they're not going to look at this because nobody's really been looking at simulation or feigning injury at all this year, but I don't know, it's just something because I had to look up the rule later on in the Man U game because there are a couple simulations going on in there. I wanted to look up the rule to see, how far it was going to go, what's the technicals of it. If feigning injury counts, then that should count. If you're going to go down, like you just got kicked in the face when you got kicked in the hand, that's feigning injury. That you got him a yellow because you acted like you got kicked in the face. That's feigning injury. But anyway, little things that just frustrate me because all the other frustrations from Michael Oliver during the game, those little things start to pop out a lot more because I'm already frustrated. But anyway, let's talk about individual performances. Courtois had to come up with some really, really big saves today. The biggest one had to be where Bellerin gets in behind, cuts it back to Lacazette, who manages to get there before David Luiz kind of pokes it through his legs, and Courtois had to be really quick get down to it and save. Just all in all, he had to be turned on for only a few moments here and there, but they were really good saves he had to make. On top of that, you look at some of the really close chances, Ramsey hitting the post. There was another one that went just wide of it. But you look at all of these chances, and every single one, Courtois is there. If it's the Xhaka shot from outside the box, these are just wide of the post or hitting the post. But you look, if it had been just inside the post, Courtois' hand is there. So he's making the save on all of these. It's just, the little things like that. A lot of the times people don't catch that because they're like, oh, so close to beating the keeper. I'm like, no, if it had been, he would have had a hand on it. So, Spilicueta on the right side of the back three, pretty much doing mostly what he does. Didn't see him as involved. He still had to make some really good challenges, but he's still kind of one of the underrated players, sort of does his job quietly. Most of the chances were coming sort of either down the middle or from our left side, so he did a very good job of sort of shutting down most everything that came down the left side. David Luiz in the middle, like I said, aside from the red card, I thought today he had a very good game. Just defensively, doing a very good job of shutting down a lot of plays. I will say he didn't come out into the midfield nearly as much as he normally does, and that did hurt us at times because it felt like there was just too much time in the midfield for Arsenal to play. But again, that's kind of a why isn't Bakayoko playing? Because he's already proven he can sort of be that player in the midfield who takes up a lot of space in there. Conte does a very good job of running around, creating problems for anybody on the ball, but at some point you have to have a big body in there who's just going to win everything in the air. Most of the time, David Luiz is the one doing that, but today he didn't really step in the midfield and do that. So, yeah, he only had a few times where he did that, but for the most part, defensively, he was very sound. Cahill, defensively, not bad. I will say one of the problems we had early on in the game was Bellerin just was taking it down the line with a lot of speed. Alonso didn't have the speed to keep up with him. If Rudiger's in, he does. He has the speed to keep up with Bellerin, so he goes in, Alonso cuts inside. it would have worked out perfectly. But because Cahill's there, he's too slow to keep up with either of them. So now he's sort of making a run back inside, and now Alonso's sort of stranded on his own. But aside from that, defensively, like I said, not a bad game, but he did give the ball away quite a few times, and he puts his players under pressure. There's a moment where he wins the ball back, great, but then Conte's right there on the line waiting for you to play him so he can send it down the line. And what does he do? He takes another touch and then plays it to him. And by that point, I forget who stepped in, but it was already kind of a 2-on-1 situation where Cahill and Conte were there. Somebody had stepped up. By the time he takes a touch and then lays it off to Conte, somebody's already stepped in. And so now Conte's kicking it off of him because they put pressure on him. Now we're struggling. Now we're panicking for a second. Cahill tries to clear it down the line, instead just slips and kicks it out of bounds for a throw-in in our corner. It's moments like that where I'm just like, play the ball quicker, stop playing around on the ball. You did this all last year. You caused problems for us last year. Why are you still making the same mistakes? Why are you our captain? So frustrating from him, but whatever the case, somehow he manages to play. On the right side, Moses, pretty good game overall. Didn't really provide a lot going forward. He was there, but as far as his effectiveness on the ball, it just wasn't the same from his runs inside weren't as effective, his crosses weren't as effective. So it's kind of disappointing for him up there, but he did work very hard today, and I do appreciate the hard work he puts in most games. Alonso on the left side, kind of back and forth. Has a few good moments here and there, but for the most part, kept pretty quiet throughout the game. I still just think we need somebody to take his place for one game so that he has a chance to rest. Because when he's on top of his game, we saw against Arsenal preseason, against Tottenham, when he's on his game, he's really good. But I just think all these games back to back to back, I think he's tired. I think his legs aren't the same, after 3 games in a row. So I'd love to see somebody just give him a break so that way he can come back fully fresh, hopefully for next weekend. I'd love to see somebody else get a chance on left wing back against Nottingham in the midweek. Conte and Fabregas in the middle. Both of them played okay. Not great from either of them, and that's a lot of where we were hurting was in the midfield. There was too much space and time in there for Ramsey and Xhaka, and then whoever cut inside most of the time had a ton of time. So I don't know. I think that a lot comes down to you need to have 2 players in there who can run. When it's a midfield that's not exactly a fast midfield, maybe they're bigger, this lineup works fine because you've got Conte who can run around him and Fabregas who, he's not quick, but neither's the other midfielders. But in a game like today where Ramsey and Xhaka both have a bit of speed, Fabregas isn't as effective, Conte isn't as good at handling them because he's got to deal with 2 instead of 1. So today was a day that called for Bakayoko. Whenever there's not a big body in the midfield, you need somebody who's going to be, and that's what we needed today. So I don't know. I'm disappointed more that Bakayoko didn't start than I'm disappointed with Conte or Fabregas' performance. They both did work very hard, to win the ball back, to try to keep possession, but it is difficult. You're kind of struggling in there. You're left alone most of the time because one of them is stepped or something. It's hard in that situation. So I put their performances, average, but more blame goes on Antonio Conte than on either of them. Willian and Pedro up front, both of them, in my opinion, didn't have a good game today. Willian just could not keep a hold of the ball whenever he got it. He's either getting tackled or he's playing a pass right to one of Arsenal's defenders. It just felt like he wasn't turned on today. He did work hard for the most part, but it just wasn't a good working hard. It was just running around aimlessly, trying to win the ball back, giving away fouls sometimes. It just seemed pretty naive from him today. And Pedro, typical Pedro self, just selfish decisions, trying to take shots that aren't there. Couple good moments from him, but then doesn't really lead to anything. Probably had the best chance to put the game away early with the Fabregas ball over the top, but instead tries to go fancy instead of just taking it wide around the keeper. So, typical frustration with him. And then Murata is starting to show that he doesn't really have the physical ability to do it against some of these top teams. We've seen against Tottenham, now against Arsenal. He struggles whenever he's up there alone, sort of. to hold up the ball to keep possession. Very good at flicking it on, finding the passes, but today we didn't really have that connectivity up top. There wasn't a Hazard running in behind to help him out. It was mostly Willian and Pedro had dropped in, and now we send the ball up to him, and he's all alone. And his hold-up play isn't the best. So I will say that's something that we lack right now. He and Batshuayi both aren't very good at holding up the ball. They're both very good at playing quick 1-2s, flicking it on, stuff like that. So either we need to go with two up top so that way, they have help, or we need to make sure one of the two attacking midfielders that are up there, whether it's Hazard, whether it's Pedro, somebody, needs to be staying up there with them so that way it's not we send the ball up to them, they try to flick it on, or they try to hold it up just to give it away, and there's no help. Now it's going to be they have somebody to flick it onto, they have somebody to play with, because we don't have that right now. As far as the subs that came on, first one that came on was Bakayoko, came on at halftime for Pedro. The second half did look a bit better from us just because of that. Like I said, the big body in the midfield helps a lot. He really does a good job of sort of dictating play, winning the ball out of the air, putting a lot of pressure in the midfield. Hazard comes on, like I said, 20 minutes left. He did create a few good chances, but like I said, not enough time for him to really come on and change the game for us. And then the last one was Christensen comes on for Morata because David Luiz had just gotten sent off. Disappointing just because I think if David Luiz doesn't make that stupid decision, I think Batman comes on for either Fabregas or Morata, and now we have pace up top for the last 5 minutes of the game. Good chance to try to get a winning goal, pick one off at the end, but stupid decision from him, and now all of a sudden we have to put on another defender to keep at least the draw. So, like I said, the draw is not a good result. It's not a good performance from us today. Not the end of the world, but I think this was a prime chance for us to get an easy 3 points. Really, push Arsenal down as well, because heck, who doesn't want to try to pull one over on your rivals? It's right there. They're right there, and they're prime for the taking, prime to be beaten because they're feeling kind of more confident about themselves after the past two results against lower teams. This is the perfect chance for just another 4-0 drumming, and then send them home, send them packing back to the other side of London. But whatever the case, it's another point picked up. Hopefully we can take some of the positives from this game. Christensen's going to be playing now for the next few games, most likely. Cahill, I don't know what to expect now that he's back. It seems like Conte's pretty intent on playing him over Rudiger. Not sure why. But yeah, as far as Nottingham Forest are concerned, not an easy game. We have to go to Nottingham Forest, so it'll be pretty interesting to see what Conte plans to do. Who do you put in? How many of your youngsters do you play? Does Musonda get a chance? Does Hazard start on Wednesday? So many little storylines to look forward to, but as far as I'm concerned, today just wasn't good enough. So that's it from me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, or your thoughts on the game today. Who's your man of the match? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.